Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is June the 6th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Friday to ya. Hopefully this energy catches you. Hopefully things feel very Friday. Hopefully you're dry on whatever day you're listening to this on. As for me, I am very dry, and I had a good Friday, so that's good. Win and a win. Let's see, the rain, it's been more or less cloudy all day, and I guess it just now decided to really start pouring. So, I mean, dodged a bullet, because like I said, we got through the whole day, not a drip, not a drop. Let's see here. How did the day go? What did we do? Well, we got up. We started off, got up, had some coffee, and then we got to work. Work was good. It was busier than I expected for a Friday, but it didn't like push my limits or anything like that. I wasn't like freaking out or anything, so we'll take that. Nothing to really complain about, phone home about, so that was good. They did open up the restroom, so that was a plus. I found out what happened too, because I got to talk to maintenance. I guess essentially some people had came out earlier in the week to do some stuff like on the roof or above the restroom, whatever. And I guess they forgot to seal off what they did when they were done. And then it started raining, and then it leaked through the whole warehouse. Well, not the whole warehouse, but at least that area. And it leaked so much that it filled up the ceiling of the restroom, and then that fell in. So they had to open up the ceiling of the restroom, but then they were able to open up the restroom so everyone could use it. So I was like, all right, that's a dub. That's good. Let's see. So that was good, a little bit closer to normal there. I will say I had a couple of cool little random moments at the end of my day at work and then going into the gym. Two random guys just like dapped me up. Like they just walked up to me and they was like, they put the fist up. I dapped them up and I was like, is this the cure to the male loneliness epidemic? Maybe that's what we need. Is just more homies dapping up homies. Because that was nice. Like I don't know those people. I don't know those guys. At least in that situation, it was a random coworker. Then I was going to the gym. Get to the gym, guy's like walking out with his girlfriend or whatever, and then just gives me some dap, and I'm like, all right, man, all right, cool. So that was encouraging in its own little weird way, but let's see. I found out that we're gonna have some changes. I might have already said this in the last episode, where they're gonna be potentially doing construction or renovations at other Planet Fitnesses. Yeah, I did say this, but they did do they redid the blacktop. So I like was pulling up to the gym and I noticed that it was empty and I was like, ooh. It was like, oh wait, no, it's a new blacktop. They're doing that now. Okay. So I had to like park in like the Jungle Gym's parking lot, and that was fine. It wasn't a big deal or anything. It was just weird. But overall, it really didn't affect anything in terms of my workout. We had a good workout. It was a heavy lift day, so that was nice. I will say, on my bench press, when I'm like lifting heavy right now, we're trying to like really push 225, and I still can't get it. Like I'm close, I can make it move, and that feels good. Like I'm counting it in that regard, but I can't get like the best technique at 225. So that feels like a bummer, but it's a work in progress. It's a pump in progress. So I know I'll eventually get there. It's not that, it's not that big of a stress for me. I will say a dub was I finally, for the first time, squatted 225. So that felt good. Clap it up for that. Yay. And then, in terms of dumbbells, I pushed a PR for, 70 pounds on a bench press, and like squats and yada yada yada. So that was my first time touching that heavy of a weight on the dumbbells, so we love that. I was really pushing myself in that regard, but overall, yeah, the gym was it was good to me today. Humbling but yet encouraging and motivating, so we love that. Let's see here. There's really not much else that I really wanted to yap about in terms of my personal day. we can go ahead and do our startup and get into some news. Also, hopefully the rain isn't too loud. All right. Our first story comes from The Guardian. Netanyahu defends arming Palestinian clans accused of ties with jihadist groups. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has admitted to arming clans in Gaza that he says are opposed to Hamas after allegations that members of these criminal gangs looted humanitarian aid and have ties to jihadist groups. The admission came after Israeli media reports quoted defense sources as saying Netanyahu had authorized giving weapons to a clan reportedly led by a man known as Yasser Abu Shabab, a Rafah resident from a Bedouin family. Known locally for his involvement in criminal activity. Israel allegedly provided Abu Shabab's group, which calls itself the Anti-Terror Service, I love that, with Kalashnikov assault rifles, including weapons seized from Hamas. And this is a quote from Netanyahu. On the advice of security officials, we activated clans in Gaza that oppose Hamas. What's wrong with that? Like, I just picture him shrugging. I mean, I think you can actually, like, see the video. But it's just like, dude, like, the logic is so warped here. Because we've been calling Hamas up and down terrorists, and, like, they're the people who are taking aid and putting civilian lives in danger. They're using, like, you know, the Gazan population as human shields, this, that, and the fucking third. But then on the other hand, you are giving actual weapons to a group that is now alleged to say, hey, we're looting from these people. Well, they're looting to stop Hamas from looting, so that's good, right? And then he adds, it only saves the lives of Israeli soldiers, and publicizing this only benefits Hamas. So yet again, it is the logic of like, actually, you're bad for trying to call me out on this. You're bad for bringing it up. You're helping the terrorists win by calling out my fucking crimes and atrocities here. Like, it is such a backwards situation that we have here. But yet again, I mean, this just feels like something bar for bar America would just do, right? They would just fund some group to like do their will and ambition and be like, oh, they're freedom fighters. They're the good guys, right? And they're fighting the insurgents. They're fighting the bad guys that we don't like. So, you know, our guys good, their guys bad. Just trust us on this. And that's essentially what Israel is fucking doing. And they just want everyone to kind of go along with it. It is so strange. Not to mention the cruel irony here of just time and perspective changing hands, where you have, at one point, like before October 7th and everything fucking comes to a full head, Netanyahu was funding Hamas. Like, he was propping them up because that was a force that was doing, you know, not necessarily his bidding, but like by them running wild, doing whatever they were fucking doing, that was giving him more of a purpose, more of a person or a group to blame and say, hey, we got to fucking deal with that before it comes to our door or does anything worse to us, da 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 da, blah, blah, blah. But meanwhile, you're making sure that they have funds and they have the means to keep doing what they're doing. It is wild how this shit just kind of moves and rotates time and time again. And, like, I get that it doesn't get talked about in that kind of way. Like, times change and there's more important things to discuss, you know, even in a conflict like this. But just the sheer hypocrisy and, like, just the backwards nature of all of this shit. And it's just allowed to go on day after day after day after fucking day. I mean, I'm at least glad that, you know, there's outlets that call this shit out. But it's not stopped. You know what I mean? It's undaunted. But I did want to add that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, the GHF, the Israel American backed thing that they're trying to cut out the UN and do this for aid work. They did get started back again on Thursday. So they're back up and running at a couple of sites. It's still trickling in aid. It's still not enough, but you know. I did want to mention that at least too while we were on the subject of Gaza. But yeah, I mean, there's more details here, but I just wanted to mention that and start off the podcast talking about that. Really, this shit just doesn't change. It's just the names of the groups. That's really it. But yeah, let's move on to our next story from ABC News. Abrego Garcia back in U.S. to face charges of helping traffic thousands of migrants. Mistakenly deported Salvadorian native Kilmar Abrego Garcia has been brought back to the United States, where he will face criminal charges for allegedly transporting undocumented migrants within the U.S. More than 2 months after the Trump administration admitted it mistakenly deported Abrego Garcia from Maryland to his native El Salvador, a federal grand jury has indicted him for allegedly transporting undocumented migrants within the United States. A 2-count indictment, which was filed under seal in federal court in Tennessee last month and unsealed Friday, alleges Abrego Garcia, 29, participated in a years-long conspiracy to haul undocumented migrants from Texas to the interior of the country. He was scheduled to have his initial court appearance Friday in the Middle District of Tennessee. Abrego Garcia's return follows a series of court battles in which the Trump administration repeatedly said it was unable to bring him back, drawing the country towards the brink of a constitutional crisis when the administration failed to heed the Supreme Court's order to facilitate his return. Abrego Garcia's attorney, in an online press briefing, called the charges against his client an abuse of power. They'll stop at nothing at all, even some of the most preposterous charges imaginable, just to avoid admitting that they made a mistake, which is what everyone knows. Which is what everyone knows happened in this case, said attorney Simon Sandoval Moshenberg. Mr. Garcia is going to be vigorously defending the charges against him, the attorney said. So yeah, I mean, after all of this huffing and puffing and dragging ass to not bring him, you had fucking Bukele coming up, all the way over to the Oval saying like, no, I'm not going to give him back. Like, this guy is a criminal, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, we do have the power to bring him back. Now, I don't know what was the final thing, the final straw that the administration finally said, okay, we're going to be compliant here. But I mean, I'm happy that they at least did that. That is the good news here, at least just for the sense of like, there's a due process at hand here, and you have to try him for this stuff, and he has to be allowed here because he has the asylum. But they wanted to jump through hoops. They wanted to just kind of force this through and get what they wanted and just deport him. And that hasn't worked. So I'm glad that he's at least getting a chance to come home and fight these charges. But at least talking about these charges, they do seem... They seem far-fetched. They seem stretched. And I really want to say this just because of the fact that it's like, if these charges were so fucking concrete and ironclad, why didn't Trump mention this shit? Like, they had plenty and ample time to, but instead they're like, no. He's a part of MS-13. Look at all the tattoos. Look at the outfit. Like, we have plenty of evidence. Like, this guy is, a criminal. He's a bad guy, and you should just take our word for that. And when no one did, and the pressure kept kind of mounting, and everyone said, you know what, it doesn't matter. There's still a due process at hand. You have to follow that. They said, okay, well, gosh, actually, he's a human trafficker. He's a human smuggler, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, he smuggled thousands of people. I think the evidence that they have is there was a traffic stop, I think, over his license, like license tags or something that expired. And I think he had like 9 people or something in the car, and they didn't have any luggage or anything like that. And essentially they're saying, well, maybe that was a chance or a reason to be suspicious that he was actually doing trafficking. And he's alleged to have made like at least 100 of trips with like multiple migrants. But there's no evidence of that. His wife has said, well, he works in construction. He moves a lot of people in that regard. So that's, a perfectly good reason on why he's moving people to and fro. And the evidence you have is just very scant. And you have, an informant that essentially took a deal to potentially say whatever the fuck. And it's like, oh yeah, no, he totally did all this bad stuff. He's an MS-13 member. He's doing this, that, and the third. And he is a human trafficker for them. Yes. Like, because why wouldn't you? It's a fucking cherry deal. Now, I mean, this is all alleged and this is all suspicion on my part. We don't know, but we are going to get to that at least. At least we are at a point where we're going to have a trial and have that conversation legally. So, once again, in that regard, that's good news. It's just crazy that they kind of keep wanting to, like, make this stick. Like they cannot say that we were actually wrong. Like, no, this guy was a bad guy and we're gonna prove it to you. So at least they're gonna get the chance to do that, I guess. Let's see. I kind of just decided to hit the riff mode here. Let's see. Actually, I'll read this one part because I did just mention it. About the informant or whatever. As ABC News first reported last month, the Justice Department had been quietly investigating the Tennessee traffic stop. As part of the probe, federal agents in late April visited a federal prison in Talladega, Alabama, to question Jose Ramon Hernandez Reyes, a convicted felon who was the registered owner of the vehicle Abrego Garcia was driving when stopped on Interstate 40 east of Nashville. Sources previously told ABC News. Hernandez Reyes was not present at the traffic stop. Hernandez Reyes, 38, is currently serving a 30-month sentence for illegally re-entering the U.S. after a prior felony conviction for illegal transportation of aliens. After being granted limited immunity, Hernandez Reyes allegedly told investigators that he previously operated a taxi service based in Baltimore. He claimed to have met Abrego Garcia around 2015 and claimed to have hired him on multiple occasions to transport undocumented migrants from Texas to various locations in the United States, sources told ABC News. When the details of the traffic stop were first publicized, Abrego Garcia's wife said her husband sometimes transported groups to fellow construction workers between jobs. So, we will see how this unfolds in court, and, we can kind of let that shit decide, go from there. But, this was, to me, a good update. So we'll take it. And times as tumultuous as they are, we'll take it. At least for now. But I guess you can say another dub here in the same kind of vein from ABC News. Trump administration, for first time, returns wrongly deported migrant to U.S. A wrongly deported Guatemalan man has been returned to the United States, marking the first time the Trump administration has brought back a deportee based on a judge's order. The man who was wrongly deported to Mexico was returned to the United States on Wednesday, according to his lawyer. The return of the man, identified in court filings as OCG, is the first instance in which the Trump administration, in the midst of a sweeping immigration crackdown, has brought a deportee back to the United States after a judge ordered their return. Now, I know I should have probably reordered these. I just wanted to get to the Abrego Garcia one more because it was just kind of one we've already covered before. But yeah, this one happened Wednesday, and I believe Garcia got back in town, or not in town, but got back to the States more recently. Anyway, let's see here. Last month, U.S. District Judge Brian Murphy ordered the Trump administration to take all immediate steps to return OCG after he was placed on a bus and sent to Mexico, a country where he was previously held for ransom and raped, according to court filings. OCG, according to court documents, illegally entered the United States in March of 2024 and was deported after he subsequently re-entered the United States. OCG attested during immigration proceedings that he was afraid of being sent to Mexico, leading a judge to grant him a withholding of removal to that country. And America was like, nah, fuck that. The Trump administration was like, nah, we're gonna just send you to, we're gonna wind up sending you there. Let's see. Yeah, after OCG was sent to Mexico, authorities removed him to Guatemala. Sorry, I got it backwards when I just said it. Where he was said to have had to remain in hiding until his return, according to court filings. So yeah, at least we're seeing the Trump admin bending a bit to what the courts are telling them to do. In the beginning of this shit, they're like, oh, oops, sorry, we just already had the plane up and running, and it was already out of your hands. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, you just can't. But it does seem like they are respecting the boundaries, at least to a certain point. We'll see, though, because they've been very flexible in just this short amount of time in the Trump second term. So, once again, if I do hear anything more from the OCG case, we will come back to it. But yeah, let's get back to Supreme Court. I know I covered a couple of those yesterday. I missed one, and then there was another one that dropped today, or at least it dropped for me. I found it. So Let's talk SCOTUS. From NBC News, Supreme Court rules that Catholic groups were unlawfully barred from a religious tax exemption. The Supreme Court on Thursday ruled in favor of Catholic Church-affiliated charitable groups, saying they were wrongly denied religious exemptions from a Wisconsin tax that funds unemployment benefits. The justices ruled unanimously that the state's decision unlawfully discriminated against the groups on the basis of religion under the Free Exercise Clause of the Constitution's First Amendment. The court rejected a Wisconsin Supreme Court decision that said the groups operating under the Catholic Charities Bureau of the Diocese of Superior were not sufficiently religious in purpose. The state already provided exemptions for religious institutions. Religious entities have long received tax exemptions at the state and federal level. Writing for the court, liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor noted the importance of the government remaining neutral when it comes to different religions. So this kind of marks the trinity here, right? We had Kagan lead one, we had Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson lead another, and now we have Sotomayor leading this, where it's like you would think that they would have dissented here and had a dissenting opinion, but they're like, no. Actually, we're so good with the gander, we'll actually lead it. Like, we'll lead the reason why we're saying what we're saying. And it's like, I mean, okay, cool, go off. This shows that you are a balanced, neutral arbiter, I guess. I should put that in quotations. But it just feels like, once again, they're just doing that kind of, they're talking this shit, they're switching it up a little bit, in my opinion, for points. But, or maybe it's just them, and this, maybe a take I disagree with, I don't got the robes on, so fucking who cares, whatever. When the government distinguishes among when the government distinguishes among religions based on the theological differences in their provision of services, it imposes a non-denominational preference that must satisfy the highest level of judicial scrutiny, Sotomayor said. But Wisconsin had transgressed that principle. Now, I mean, it's hard because it's like, if these groups are, so entrenched in the, in the Catholic, group or whatever, like it says that they are, then it's like, okay, I do get it. Like, I understand that they're just gonna get the exception. I just disagree with them getting the exemption. You know what I mean? I don't like that. But when you hear the titles, and I'm just gonna run through the groups involved, ask me if it's giving Catholic. Maybe I just don't know, and I'm just ignorant here. But Headwaters, Barron County Developmental Services, Diversified Services, and Blackwater Industries primarily serve developmentally disabled people. Their programs are open to non-Catholics. So obviously this sounds like a great service. I'm here for it. Hell yeah, that's dope. Love that they're open to not just Catholic people, they're open to all kinds of people. Awesome. But it just seems on the surface, this doesn't seem entrenched in Catholicism. This seems like an offshoot at best. And if you didn't run the details to me, I would be like, yeah, no, this isn't a Catholic organization. They just maybe have some support. So no, they don't get the tax exemption. I can understand that. But essentially they're saying, no, run it back, run through our roots. We are a Catholic group. We should get this exemption. And essentially that's what the Supreme Court is saying. They're saying, no, the Wisconsin Supreme Court is wrong. And that's how they're ruling here. So, I mean, okay, I guess, if I was a liberal justice here in this situation, or if I was any kind of justice, I guess I should say, I would probably dissent here, I would think. But I mean, hey, like I said, I ain't got the robes on. I'm wearing some bullshit right now. Anyway, that's really all I have on that part. Let's move on to some new SCOTUS shit. It actually kind of dovetails with some Doge, some doggy daycare bullshit from CBS News. Supreme Court lets Doge access sensitive Social Security Administration information. This is a little unsettling, at least to me. I don't know. The Supreme Court on Friday cleared the way for the White House's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, to access sensitive information kept by the Social Security Administration while legal proceedings move forward. In an unsigned order, the High Court agreed to temporarily lift an injunction issued by a federal district court in Maryland that limited DOGE's access to agency systems of record containing the personal information of millions of Americans. Justices Alina Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, and Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented. We conclude that under the present circumstances, SSA may proceed to afford members of the SSA DOJ team access to the agency records in question in order for those members to do their work, the Supreme Court said in its decision. The emergency appeal to the Supreme Court was the first to land before the High Court that directly involved DOJ, the initiative previously led by Elon Musk that aims to shrink the size of the federal government. DOJ's sweeping efforts have sparked numerous lawsuits. Plaintiffs have argued that the task force has violated federal privacy law governing the government's collection and use of Americans' information kept by agencies. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely something that makes me uneasy. I don't like that DOJ kind of keeps moving the way that it is. And we didn't talk about this in the previous episode or in the episode where Elon Musk left as the lead. DOJ is still going to be a thing. It's not dismembering itself or anything like that. It's not being dissolved. They still have work to do, according to the Trump administration. So they are going to be doing that. And they want more and more and more and more access. Also, a bit of side news that I've kind of been picking up this week. Palantir, which is like a whole other fucking group. They're going to be teaming up, I think, with the Trump administration to try to consolidate like all the data across like all of these like government like agencies. I'm kind of just pulling this from the ether here. I really didn't get into the details outside of listening to some podcasts, but essentially that is, I guess, their goal here is to try to like get all of the data. Now, I don't know. I imagine they're going to be working with DOJ, maybe in some capacity. I would assume. But yeah, I mean, this to me, kind of getting back to the article, is it's spooky. Like, do I personally worry that like a member of DOJ is going to be looking at all my stuff and like, you know, no, not me personally, but it's just like, why do they need this information to make the government more efficient, to cut down on waste? Like, how does access like this seems like a risk that doesn't need to be taken. And you would think the Supreme Court would want to protect and defend that. But they're like, no. We want to make sure that they can do the best that they can. Even though it's been proven that, like, what are they doing? Like, even when you take these crazy inflated numbers that are probably not real, it's drops in the bucket to the actual fucking, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Not spending deficit, but the government bloat that we have, the debt that we have. That's the word I'm looking for. So you're not offsetting it by cutting all this and cutting all that and like trying to stop fraud this way. Like you're not beating it. So why are we now digging deeper in the hole, saying no, give them more access, give them more information? It seems so wrong. But I mean, I've said this. I know I always love referencing old episodes, but I always remember thinking like, oh yeah, America, it's not really like a surveillance state or anything. Like that's other countries. Like maybe in like the higher metropolitan areas, it's like, no, Isaiah, I think you have to kind of expand your idea of what a surveillance state is. It's like the idea that your government can have any and all the information that it wants on you at the click of a button. You know, they can just pull you up and know everything about you, all your little details, all your little fucking quirks, just via trails of whatever information you have. You know, it's weird that they're going out of their way to make that easier and easier and easier, right? But I don't know, and this is supported all the way up to the top. It goes all the way up to the top. Anyway, I don't know. So it goes. I just wanted to riff and rant on that, I guess. We can go ahead and move on to our last story, and it's a recall. We got some bad beef, but let me go ahead and take my last break. I'm thirsty, and among other things, so let me go ahead and recalibrate, and we'll go ahead and close this out. Sounds like the rain's dying down. I really hope it's not a wet weekend. I haven't checked the forecast, but you know, so it goes. If it's gotta be, it's gotta be. I'm sure we could use the rain. Anyway. From CBS News. Ground beef with possible E. coli distributed nationwide, including to Whole Foods, USDA says. Ground beef that was distributed nationwide may be contaminated with E. coli, according to U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Service. In a public health alert issued Wednesday, the agency said the 1 pound vacuum packed packages of organic rancher organic ground beef, 85% lean, 15% fat. I wish I was 15% fat. Were produced on May 22nd and 23rd this year. The packaging is labeled with use or freeze by June 19th, 2025, or use or freeze by June 20th, 2025, and has EST 4027, whatever, inside the USDA mark of inspection. So we got some more bad beef here. If you got any of that, if that matches any of the description of you got some organic rancher in your refrigerator, then go ahead and toss that. Go ahead and get your potential refund or something like that if you can get an exchange. I think that they said they have no reported illnesses, and they have made sure that like all of that is off the shelves. So it would just be people who have it already and are just like sitting on it, have it frozen, whatever. So hopefully, if you're a listener and you might be affected, I'm looking at the label right now. Organic rancher, 100% grass fed, vegetarian fed. With E. coli. No, I don't know. Let's see. We haven't run through the symptoms of E. coli, have we? At least not in a while. Officials warned E. coli is a potentially deadly bacterium that can cause dehydration, bloody diarrhea, and abdominal cramps. While most people recover within a week, some develop a type of kidney failure called hematolic. Yeah, I totally got that right. Hemolytic uremic syndrome. HUS. HUS. Got that HUS, bro. This condition can occur among persons of any age, but is most common in children under 5 years and older adults, the alert read. It is marked by easy bruising, pallor, and decreased urine output. That's no good. Persons who experience these symptoms should seek emergency medical care immediately. So there you go. That was totally worth me butchering a word a bunch of times. That was totally good podcasting. Anyway, that's really all I have for today. That's gonna end it and wrap it up for our Friday. Hopefully, you've enjoyed yourself, had a good time listening. Even through all the bad shit. That's news, baby, but that's life. Anyway, if you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring, always appreciated. But I really just appreciate you listening. It's pretty cool that you just do that. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.